It's almost like baked into our thinking, isn't it? This idea that to build any real wealth, to
Yeah.
get financially secure, you need this big pile of cash just to get started.
Yeah, like you're stuck on the sidelines unless you've already saved up thousands.
Right. And that just feels totally out of reach for so many people who are just, getting by day to day.
It's a super common feeling, definitely.
Hmm.
But the sources we're looking at for this deep dive, they really they tear that idea down completely.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they lay out this really compelling case that you can actually start that journey, towards solid financial ground
Hmm.
with amounts as small as get this $50 a month.
$50 a month. Wow. Okay, that changes things. That puts it in reach for a lot more people, potentially.
It really does.
So our mission today then is to really dive into these sources. We want to pull out the core strategies, the key principles that show how even that amount, that $50, can become a powerful engine for, growth and security down the line.
Mm, exactly. We're going to unpack the huge power of just starting early. That's critical. And the quiet strength of being consistent.
Okay.
Why setting clear goals is like your financial GPS.
Yeah.
Specific, easy ways to get your money working, like low-cost index funds. We'll talk about those.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of magic of compound interest. And then some smart ways to boost your efforts, like using automation or even increasing your income.
It's all about turning those small, consistent steps into really significant long-term results. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay, let's get into it. So one of the most, I guess, stunning things our sources really hammer home is just how crucial starting early is. Non-negotiable, almost.
Right.
You might think, okay, $50, what's the good deal if I start at 25 versus, say, 35? But the sources show it makes all the difference.
And what's really interesting is how they frame time. Time itself becomes your biggest asset in finance. Way more important, often, than the amount you start with. It really echoes that saying. It's less about how much you save right now and much, much more about when you actually begin.
And that really comes down to compound interest, doesn't it? This idea that your money makes money, and then that money starts making money too.
That's exactly it. Sometimes they call it the eighth wonder of the world in finance circles.
Right.
Compound interest is basically the process where the interest you earn gets added back to your original investment. Then the next time interest is calculated, it's on that new, slightly bigger total. It's like a snowball rolling downhill.
The longer it rolls.
The bigger it gets, exactly.
Yeah.
Exponentially bigger over time.
Okay, so let's look at the numbers the sources use, because this is where it gets, well, really eye-opening. They give this great example. Imagine someone invests just $50 a month consistently, starting when they're 25.
Okay.
Assuming, let's say, a reasonable 7% annual return over 40 years until they're 65, they put in a total of $24,000 of their own money.
Right. $50 a month for 40 years. That's $24K.
But because of that compounding, working its magic over those 4 decades, their investment potentially grow to over $100,000 by retirement.
Over 100 grand from $24,000 invested.
Yeah, that's a huge return, and it's purely down to starting early and letting compounding do its thing.
Now, here's the really shocking part the sources highlight. If that same person waits just 10 years, starts the exact same $50 a month, but at age 35,
Good.
they'd contribute $18,000 over 30 years. Still a decent chunk.
Mm-hmm.
But by age 65, their potential total is only around $54,000.
Wait, hang on. They put in less money overall, sure, because they started later, but they end up with less than half the final amount.
Less than half.
Okay.
Compared to the person who started just 10 years earlier with the same $50 a month.
Wow. That difference, losing out on potentially over $40,000 in growth just because you waited a decade,
Yeah.
that really drives home the power of those early years, doesn't it?
It really does.
Uh,
It shows that while $50 a month might feel small, starting it early gives compound interest the runway it needs to perform that exponential magic.
Mm.
And the sources also mention other benefits, right? Like starting early helps build discipline. It makes market ups and downs less scary because you have more time to recover. You just establish good financial habits younger.
So time is your superpower, basically. Start small, but start now. Give compounding the room it needs.
Exactly.
But okay, time isn't everything. Our sources also really emphasize the importance of consistency. It's not just starting, it's sticking with it month after month.
Yeah, consistency is framed as like the backbone of the whole thing. It's not a sprint, right? It's more like a steady walk, maybe a slow jog over a very long distance. That $50 a month,
Yeah.
it becomes powerful because it happens every single month, no excuses.
What is it about just being regular like that? What makes it so effective?
Well, the sources point to a few things. First, it just builds the habit. You train yourself, okay, this $50 is for savings. It becomes automatic, part of your routine. That builds financial muscle, discipline, and consistency also, gives you a sense of control, even peace of mind. Knowing that, okay, even if it's small, something is consistently going towards your future, that can actually lower financial stress.
Yeah, I can see that. And I bet seeing that amount slowly but surely grow over time must be pretty motivating too.
Totally. And the sources are really big on automating your savings as the best way to lock in that consistency.
The automation piece.
Yeah. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings, or better yet, your investment account. Takes the decision-making, the willpower out of it each month.
Right.
That $50 or whatever amount, it's saved before you even really see it or have a chance to spend it.
It's that pay yourself first idea, but put on autopilot.
Exactly that. Other tips they mentioned include, actually budgeting for savings.
Yeah.
Make it a line item like rent or groceries, non-negotiable.
Mhm.
Track your progress, even with simple tools, just so you can see it growing. And celebrate little milestones. It helps reinforce the good habit. They even show this simple table, like $50 a month at 7% growth. After year one, you put in $600, maybe it's worth $634. Tiny start, but it plants the seed. And they tell the story of Jane, who started small, stayed consistent, and eventually hit her goals. It works.
Okay, so start early, be consistent. Got it. Twin pillars. But consistency needs like a target, right? A direction. So the next big piece our sources dig into is setting clear financial goals.
Goals are what turns saving from this vague, oh, I should save more idea into an actual concrete plan. They give you the why and the what. Why are you saving? What are you saving for? That's a huge motivator.
Mm-hmm.
And the sources make a distinction between short-term and long-term goals. It's important to have both.
Okay, short-term goals. What kind of time frame are we talking about there?
Usually things you can achieve within, say, a year or less. These are designed for quick wins, building momentum, getting that habit muscle working. Examples they give are things like building a small emergency fund, maybe aiming for $500 or $1,000 first, or paying off a specific annoying little debt like one credit card, or maybe saving for something you want soon, like a new laptop or a weekend trip in the next 6 months.
Okay, those feel really manageable. Achieving those probably gives you a real boost, makes you feel like, okay, I can do this.
Precisely. That immediate satisfaction keeps you going. Long-term goals, on the other hand, are the bigger picture. They span several years, maybe even decades.
Right, the really big stuff.
Yeah. Saving a serious down payment for a house. Funding retirement, which could be 20, 30, 40 years away. Saving for your kids' education. Or just reaching a certain level of financial independence, whatever that means to you.
Those definitely require more sustained effort, more planning.
And the sources suggest balancing both is really key. Knocking out some short-term goals, especially paying off high-interest debt, can actually free up more money,
Right.
which you can then redirect towards those bigger long-term ambitions.
Makes sense. And to make these goals really stick, really work, the sources bring up the SMART framework. It's kind of a classic, but seems super relevant here.
Oh, definitely. It just sharpens the focus so much. SMART, it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. So, specific. Know exactly what the goal is. Not just save more, but save $3,000 for a down payment fund. Crystal clear.
Measurable. You need numbers to track progress. I'll save $250 each month for 12 months to hit that $3,000. Gives you a roadmap, lets you see if you're on track.
Achievable means being realistic. Is the goal actually doable with your current income and expenses? Aiming to save $1,000 a month might be impossible if your budget only has room for $200. Needs to be reachable.
Relevant. Does this goal actually matter to you? Does it line up with what you want in life? Saving for something you don't really care about deep down, you probably won't stick with it.
Good point. And time-bound. Give it a deadline. Save $1,000 for that emergency fund within 4 months. Creates urgency, gives you a target date to shoot for.
The sources use saving for a down payment as a great example. Make it specific. $20,000. Measurable. Save $500 a month. Achievable. Based on your budget, yes.
Yeah.
Relevant. Homeownership is important to you. Time-bound. Reach it in 40 months.
Yeah.
Using that structure just brings so much clarity, makes tracking easy, and seriously boosts your motivation and your odds of actually getting there. It turns fuzzy dreams into actual, actionable steps.
So with those SMART goals locked in, that consistent $50 or $100 a month suddenly has a purpose, a destination.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're starting early, you're being consistent, you know what you're saving for. How do you make that saved money actually grow more than it would in just a basic savings account?
Right.
The sources point really strongly towards investing. Specifically, they talk a lot about low-cost index funds.
Yeah, this is the step where your money stops just sort of sitting there
Hmm.
and starts actively working to build wealth for you. And index funds come up again and again because they're simple, they're effective, and they're really affordable, especially if you're just starting small.
Okay, remind us what exactly is an index fund?
Think of it like a basket. A basket of investments, usually stocks or bonds, that's designed to just copy the performance of a specific market index.
Like the S&P 500.
Exactly, like the S&P 500, which tracks 500 of the biggest U.S. companies, or maybe a total stock market index that covers even more. So instead of having managers actively trying to pick winning stocks,
Yeah.
an index fund just buys and holds pretty much everything in the index it's tracking, usually in the same proportions.
So if I buy into an S&P 500 index fund, I'm not buying just one company's stock. I'm essentially getting a tiny piece of all 500 companies in that group.
That's the core idea, yeah. It's a passive approach.
Yeah.
And because there's less active management involved, less buying and selling,
Right.
this research funds, the fees are typically way, way lower than actively managed funds.
Lower fees. That seems really important, especially if you're starting with smaller amounts like $50 a month. Every little bit saved on fees is more money left in your account to grow, right?
Absolutely crucial. The sources show some pretty stark comparisons on fees. Index funds might have an expense ratio, that's the annual fee, as a percentage of like 0.05%, maybe 0.20%.
Okay, tiny.
Very low. Actively managed funds, they can charge anywhere from 0.50% up to 1.50%, sometimes even more. Over decades, that difference, which looks small each year, can literally cost you tens of thousands of dollars in lost growth. It's like a hidden drag on your returns.
Wow, tens of thousands. Yeah, that's eye-opening. What are the other big pluses of index funds?
Diversification is huge. Putting all your eggs in one basket, investing everything in just one company, super risky.
Mm-hmm.
An index fund instantly spreads your money across maybe hundreds, even thousands of different companies, often in different industries. So if one company or even one whole sector hits a rough patch, your overall investment isn't hit nearly as hard. That S&P 500 fund gives you instant broad exposure to the U.S. economy.
Okay, so lower fees, instant diversification, and you mentioned simplicity too.
Yeah, it's hard to overstate how simple it is. You don't need to become a stock market genius overnight. You don't need to spend hours researching companies or trying to guess when the market will go up or down.
Right.
Your investment generally just does what the overall market index does. And the sources also point to some powerful data here. Studies, like the SBIV report, which compares active versus passive fund performance, consistently show that most actively managed funds actually fail to beat their benchmark index over the long run.
So trying to outsmart the market is actually really difficult, even for the pros. And just buying the market index itself often ends up being a better strategy over time.
The data strongly suggests that's the case for the vast majority of investors, yeah. It offers competitive long-term return potential, lets you tap into the general growth of the economy, and it benefits massively from compound returns over time, just like we talked about with savings, but usually with a higher potential growth rate. Plus, they're available everywhere. In retirement accounts like 401ks or IRAs or just regular brokerage accounts, very accessible. They use Mark as an example, someone who started small, used different index funds to diversify, and just saw steady, consistent growth.
Yeah, for someone starting with just $50 a month, low-cost index funds really do feel like a perfect way in. It's practical, it's cheap, you get diversification without needing to be an expert right away.
Exactly. They're presented as this really powerful, low-hassle tool to harness the market's potential, especially when you combine it with that consistency and those clear goals we talked about.
Okay. We've touched on it a few times already, but let's really zoom in on compound interest now. The sources call it foundational, maybe one of the most powerful forces there is for building wealth. How do we really grasp this and, use it?
Compound interest really is the engine. It's the thing that lets those small, steady contributions potentially balloon into really significant amounts over decades. Like we said, it's the magic of earning returns, not just on your original money, the principal, but also on all the returns you've already piled up.
Right.
It creates this growth curve that gets steeper and steeper over time.
It's that snowball effect again. Interest on interest on interest.
That's it, exactly. The basic ingredients are your principal, what you put in, the interest rate, how fast it grows, and, crucially, time. The longer the time horizon you have, the more dramatic the compounding effect becomes.
Yeah, the simple example of investing, say, $1,000 at 5% compounded annually makes it clear. After year one, you earn $50, so you have a $1050.
Right.
But in year 2, you earn 5% on that new total, the $1050,
Yeah.
which is $52.50. So your earnings themselves are already growing year over year just because the base amount is getting bigger.
And while, $2.50 might not sound like a huge deal in year 2, project that out, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The growth really starts to accelerate dramatically. Time is the critical factor.
We saw that huge difference with the $50 a month example, comparing starting at 25 versus 35. The 25-year-old saved for 40 years, the 35-year-old for 30 years, same monthly amount. But the younger starter potentially ended up with double the money.
Double. That extra decade made a colossal difference.
Yeah.
And the sources drive this home with another case study they mentioned, Alice and Bob. Both saved $200 a month, aiming for a 7% potential return. Alice starts at 25, Bob waits until 35. Alice invests for 40 years. Her total contribution is $38,000. Her potential balance by age 65, somewhere around $1,045,000.
Whoa. Over $1 million?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby invests for 30 years. He actually contributes more of his own money, $72,000 total. But his potential balance at 65, roughly $514,000.
Hold on. Bob put in $24,000 more out of his own pocket than Alice did. But he ends up with less than half the potential total amount.
Less than half.
That example from the sources is just incredibly powerful. It just perfectly illustrates how much value those early years have purely because of compounding working over more time.
It absolutely underscores that starting early, even if it's with a small amount, lets you leverage time. And time is your greatest ally here. Consistency, like we discussed, make sure the money is actually there for compounding to work on regularly. They show another simple example. $50 monthly contributions growing over time at, say, 6% interest. You put in $6,000 over 10 years, it can become over $8,100. Put in $12,000 over 20 years. Maybe it goes to over $31,000. Put in $18,000 over 30 years. Potentially over $90,000.
That really shows the growth potential just from that small starting amount compounded year after year. It's definitely not get rich quick, but it's steady, significant growth fueled by patience and just sticking with it.
And compounding also helps you, hopefully, stay ahead of inflation over the long haul so your money keeps its buying power. The key is using the right kinds of accounts or investments, where compounding can really work its magic retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, brokerage accounts with those index funds, even high-yield savings accounts for shorter-term goals.
So understand compounding, make time and consistency your friends, and choose the right tools for it to flourish. That's how you harness its power.
It's absolutely foundational to making any amount of money work harder for you over the long run.
Okay, so finally, the sources offer some ways to kind of supercharge all this. We've got the basic plan. Start small, be consistent, set goals, use low-cost funds, let compounding work. How can we speed things up a bit?
Yeah, there are two main amplifiers they really highlight. One is automating your investments, which we touched on for consistency, and the other is actively looking for ways to increase your income.
Okay, let's dig into automation again first. Beyond just helping with consistency, what else makes it so powerful?
Well, automation basically takes the human element out of it. Procrastination, second-guessing yourself, forgetting. When you set up that automatic transfer, whether it's $50, $100, whatever, from your paycheck or checking account straight into your investment or savings account, maybe the day after payday, that money just moves before you even really think about spending it. It eliminates that monthly decision point. Should I save this month? Maybe next month.
Exactly. That set it and forget it approach. It guarantees you stay consistent even when life gets busy or unexpected things pop up. And it also works really well with something called dollar cost averaging when you invest.
Right.
You're automatically investing that same fixed amount regularly, no matter if the market is high or low. Over time, this can potentially lower the average price you pay per share compared to trying to jump in and out based on market timing guesses.
And it makes hitting those SMART goals almost feel effortless because the saving part is just happening in the background.
Totally. You figure out the goal, calculate how much you need to save each month, and then you automate that specific amount. And, as your income grows or your expenses change, you can always go in and adjust the automated amount up or down. And the tools are everywhere now. Online banking apps, brokerage platforms, even roto-advisors.
Yeah.
Those automated online services that build and manage a portfolio for you, they all make setting up automation incredibly easy.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned Megan, who automated $250 a month into a target date fund for retirement. Perfect example.
Okay, automate for consistency, make saving easy. Got it. What about the other side, boosting income? How does bringing in more money amplify things?
Well, being smart with the money you have is crucial, obviously. But simply increasing the amount of money coming in gives you more fuel for the fire. right? More money you can potentially save and invest. The sources suggest looking into what they call side hustles.
Yeah, with the gig economy and everything, seems like there are more options for that than ever before.
Absolutely. They list examples like, using skills you already have for freelance work, maybe graphic design, writing,
Yeah.
coding, helping people out virtually, or using platforms like Uber, Lyft, maybe selling crafts on Etsy, even just offering tutoring or pet sitting in your neighborhood. Any way to earn extra cash outside your main 9 to 5.
And then that extra money can be specifically funneled straight into savings or investments, really speeding up progress towards your goals.
Precisely. They also touch on the idea of passive income streams. So, money you earn with minimal ongoing effort after you've done the initial setup work.
Okay.
That could be income from renting out property, maybe dividends from certain stocks, or creating something once like an ebook or an online course and selling it over and over.
Ah, the dream, right? Making money while you sleep. Although, yeah, it usually takes a lot of upfront work.
Definitely requires that initial investment of time, sometimes money too. But the potential for ongoing cash flow is there. And another way to boost income, maybe one people overlook, according to the sources, is investing in yourself.
How so?
Taking courses, getting new certifications, learning new skills at workshops, even just networking effectively in your field. All these things can increase your value in the job market, potentially leading to promotions or higher paying jobs down the road.
So, using time or money now to make more money later. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And finally, they mentioned exploring alternative investments that might generate income, not just growth. Could be things like investing in small local businesses, or maybe peer-to-peer lending, where you lend money directly to individuals or businesses online and earn interest. They give John as an example a graphic designer who picked up a freelance side gig, just 5 hours a week, and automated all those extra earnings straight into his investments. Shows how combining more income with automation can be really potent.
Okay, so leverage automation to make saving and investing consistent and almost thoughtless, and then actively look for ways to increase the money you have available to save side hustles, passive income, boosting your career potential. Those strategies really do sound like they can amplify the whole process, even if you started small.
Yeah, by taking the friction out of saving and increasing your capacity to save, you can definitely speed up that journey towards financial security and hitting those long-term goals.
Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive. We started off acknowledging that common feeling, right? That building wealth is sort of reserved for people who already have money.
Hmm.
But I think our sources have really clearly shown that's just, well, it's not true. Starting small, even with just $50 a month, isn't just possible, it's actually a really powerful place to begin.
Absolutely. And the key takeaways we've pulled out from these sources are, I think, incredibly useful. First, that huge, almost unbelievable advantage you get just by starting early. Thanks to compound interest, time becomes your most powerful tool.
Right. Then there's the foundational strength of consistency, building that habit, creating steady momentum month after month.
And the crucial role of setting those SMART goals, that framework-specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, it gives every dollar you save real purpose and direction.
We also talked about the practical power of choosing the right investment vehicles, especially low-cost index funds. They offer affordability, instant diversification, they're simple to use, and they have solid potential for growth based on how the market does over the long term.
And then really understanding and leveraging compound interest by staying invested for the long haul.
Mm.
Plus, those strategies to amplify everything,
Yeah.
using automation to make saving effortless,
Yeah.
and actively looking for ways to increase your income, whether it's side hustles or investing in your own skills and career.
So applying these principles that we've unpacked from the sources, taking that first step, staying consistent, setting clear goals, making smart investment choices, harnessing compounding, and finding ways to save and earn more, it really can fundamentally change your financial future no matter how small you start.
It truly can.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to kind of chew on. We've seen just how massive a difference time makes, that stark contrast between starting at 25 versus 35. We've seen how consistent, even tiny contributions can grow into something really substantial over decades because of compounding. So take a moment and just reflect on that, the incredible long-term impact of actions that seem really small today. What's one seemingly small, consistent financial step that you could take, maybe starting today? Could it be setting up that first $50 automatic transfer? Could it be sitting down and actually writing out a SMART goal? Maybe exploring one way to earn just a little extra and deciding to save all of it. What's one small action you could begin right now that could profoundly shape your financial security years maybe even decades down the road.